So your question was, is it completely normal to be doing perfectly okay, then a memory of something done to you comes back and hits you all over again? I just keep thinking of all the stuff done to me and get this feeling like I'm being kicked in the stomach. Is this normal? Yeah. Does it have to be your story though? No. I know how you feel. I see it a lot and I experienced it myself. After my breakup, I had experienced grief for a year and it was suffering. It wasn't fun. The point I want to make is that emotional pain points to there being something unprocessed and a disconnect from the underlying story, and that's really where the heart of the issue lies. That's where resolution lies. See, thoughts and emotions are linked. I said this in the response that I sent, but I'll reiterate it a little. Thoughts and emotions are linked. It's why you can't have a thought without a feeling or a feeling without a thought. They are intertwined. Because we can't control our thoughts, when thoughts come in that we don't want, unwanted thoughts, if they trigger an emotional response that we're unable to deal with, then that energy doesn't leave the body but gets stored. And that creates dis-ease in the body. And that sounds like the feeling of being kicked in the stomach that you're mentioning. There's something there that's not being processed fully. And that's why when those thoughts come in, when you keep thinking about all the stuff that happens to you, it creates this hit in your stomach over and over again. How do we deal with that? Firstly, by learning to process the emotions in a healthy way. And being able to process them in a healthy way, then when they get triggered by those thoughts, they don't cause this dis-ease in the body. They just flow through and you can carry on with your day and get to step 2, which is then understanding the underlying story. See, your emotions being kicked in the stomach, inspired by your underlying stories. All I've got here is they hurt me and the questioning, am I normal? I don't know the underlying stories that are going on with you. Those are your symptom stories. Those are your surface stories, just a couple of them. But it's underneath all of that that the heart of the issue exists. And until you're able to deal with the emotional reaction healthily, then you will struggle to get to figuring out what that underlying story is. And the way to do that is to actually investigate it. I know it sounds counterintuitive what I'm about to say, but trust me, I promise you it works. Rather than hiding from or distancing yourself from the emotions, actually embracing them. See, pain points to something that is trying to be learnt, but actually isn't getting through. It's like if you touch your finger on a hot stove, you get a pain response, and that is a learning mechanism to say don't do this. But at the moment, what's happening is you're touching the hot thing, getting the pain response, not knowing how to deal with it, and so just keep touching it. Just keep touching it over and over again, and you become used to that sensation. It becomes an addiction. It becomes a defining part of who you are. But we don't want that, because 1, it's an unhealthy place to be, 2, it's not a fun place to be, and 3, it doesn't allow you to move on to where you want to get to, which I imagine is resolution. Moving forwards rather than being stuck in this space of feeling hurt and not feeling normal. So how do we deal with that? That underlying story, it needs to get out of your head. Because if it's looping around in the head and causing this emotional response and creating this dis-ease in the body, then the way to get rid of that is to get it out of the head. At the moment, there are conflicting stories that are creating this struggle. In order to resolve that, there needs to be an alignment made. An underlying story needs to be understood. I don't know what that is for you. The best way to find that is to actually have a conversation. So you need support. You can do this alone. I did alone. It took me 3 years to get from step 1 to step 6. It took me 1 year to do step 1 and another year to do step 2. It's totally possible. I didn't know what to do, which is why I made the Break-up Guidebook. It's free. Go check it out. It tells you all the steps, how to do them, why they work, and how to get through them by yourself. Go do that. If you want to shorten the pain time, the time that you spent suffering, it doesn't have to be 2 years like it was for me. Get some support. And that can be a therapist. Therapists can be useful if they're effective therapists. If they're ineffective therapists, then you're just going to be spending time suffering still. You'll likely have a support network, people who you can speak to about this. The thing is, they are not trained or skilled to give you what you need right now. The way people in our lives support us, the way our friends and our family support us, is that they nurture us. They tell us that we're going to be fine, that it's just going to take time. They listen to our stories and caress our ego, and that's not what you need, because that's where the problem is. You need to get out of that. And if those people can't support you in the way that you need, which is being an honest mirror, and that's what I do for people, I reflect back what I see and allow them to investigate beyond the limits of their limiting beliefs, beyond the limits of their limited stories. If you have that person in your life, amazing, use them. If you don't have them, go and find someone who will facilitate that for you. But someone who can not coddle you, not listen to the story on repeat, and not put their fish in your pond, but help you understand your underlying story by making the connections that need to be made in your mind. That's the bit that's missing, and that's the bit that's really difficult to do alone, because if you could do it alone, you would have done it already, easily. It's difficult to do alone because there's a part of us that kind of essentially fights back. It's that ego part. The part that likes the story, the part that doesn't want to let go. And that's the part that needs to be let go of to be able to move forwards. And that's a challenging thing to do. But that's what's necessary. Create the capability within yourself to deal with the emotions. Then once that's possible, start to investigate the underlying story. The way I did that was with journaling. Journaling, rather than keeping it in my mind, actually writing it down. It allowed me the space to expand upon the stories and begin to find what was actually at the heart of the issue. Again, this can take time. That's why in the guidebook there are journal prompts. Go and check them out. They may help you. This is why having people around to bounce ideas, not just repeat back what it is that you're saying without any direction, is going to likely be key. Then once you've figured that out, steps 3 to 6 will just fly by. They can do if done in a sensible way. But that's what I would do. Deal with the emotions, find the underlying stories, and carry on rather than looking back. Trust that helps, and that was fully understood. If not, you know where to look, that guidebook. Good luck. Stay strong.